II-2.
Yeah, so what's up guys? Hello, welcome back to my channel. So again, it's me, your girl, Jessa Mae Edubas. So for today's video, we all know that it's another day, so we should be thankful, we should be blessed. Yes, we're alive. But anyway, since it is another day, expected that there is another content needs to be shared. And since classes are back, expected that our content for today is related to my studies, since I am still studying. Anyways, there will be a twist. So the twist will be like this. I am going to make a Q&A challenge. This is gonna be going like this. So I prepared something. I prepared a random questions related to the topic assigned to me. And yes, of course, I am still the one answering the said questions. So yes, do you agree or not? But anyways, before I forgot, don't forget to click like and subscribe to my YouTube channel for a burger is okay. So yes, yeah, let's go alright na. So yes, since I need some companion for me for this vlog to be, whatever. So I have someone right now who's going to ask the questions for me. Yes, I want you guys to welcome my friend Trina. Hi guys. Yeah, so she's going to go with me today. So buckle up because we're going to go room my everyone that our topic today would be all about cognitive jury. Cognitive jury, the language accusation view. So this will gonna be the topic we're going to dig deeper. So yes, I hope you guys ready. So let's go. Guys, I just want to remind everyone that this Q&A will be all about cognitive jury again, as I have said. But before that, we're going to identify what is. We're going to ask what is cognitive, what is jury, and how it is related to each other. And of course, the cognitive jury, which is our main topic, based on the language acquisition view. So yes, we're going to ask questions one by one so that yes, we can clearly understand what is really the topic all about. And of course, I will give you some examples for us to be, for us to understand. Yes, I think that's all about this short introduction. Let's start this. So yes, the Q&A challenge starts now.
So first, what is cognitive?
So what is cognitive? Cognitive is relating to or involving conscious intellectual activities such as thinking, reasoning, or remembering. So yes, basically cognitive is meant our consciousness or our intellectual activity and how we think, how we do reasonings, and how we remember something or an idea of what they're thinking like that. Yes, that's it. They're just really connected to each other. That's what we call cognitive. And now let's move on to our second question.
So next, what is theory?
So theory is a set of principles in which the practice of an activity is based. So yes, so you can see it is a set of principles for us, in which for us to practice the activity. I think that's it. So yes, that's theory. So let's move on.
So next, what is cognitive theory?
Since you're okay with cognitive and theory, then you're going to combine this two like. So, what is cognitive theory? So, cognitive theory, it is an approach to psychology that attempts to explain human behavior by understanding your thought process. So, it focuses on the idea and how and what people think. So, as you can see, cognitive is all about thinking or intellectual activity, while theory is the principle. So, when we combine these two, then it is an approach. It explains and how we human behavior. It explains our behavior and how we understand a certain topic and how we think and how we process our thoughts. So basically, it focuses on the idea on how we people think. So yes, do you agree? So yes, let's move on to the next question.
What is cognitive theory, the language acquisition view?
So yes, this is the topic that we're going. This is really the topic that we're going to go deeper. So deeper. So cognitive theory based on the language acquisition view, it is a cognitive theory of learning. Sees second language acquisition as a conscious and reason thinking process. So it is involving the deliberate use of learning strategy. So when we talk about cognitive theory based on the language acquisition view, there we will going to include some strategies for us and how people learn. Learning strategies are the special ways of processing information that enhance comprehension or our understanding, and of course, learning or retention of information. So yes, this explain how language learning can be applied. Yes. So cognitive theory based on language acquisition view, they said that it is a theory of learning as a second language acquisition in which the conscious and reason thinking process must involve again a learning strategies for us, of course, to learn, to process the information we have gained. So do you understand or awkward ang mga word? Okay, that's alright. So yes. So for that, I'm going to give to you an example. This view leads to a classroom focus in using learning strategies that have been observed in successful language learners, and to a view of the learners as an information processors with limitation as to how much new information can be obtained or attained, and who need strategies to be able to transfer information into memory. So this is an example of cognitive theory again. Like for example, in a classroom, we use relevant activities, includes review and revision, class vocabulary box, using a scaffolding approach with the learners, analysis and discussions of language and topics, and inductive approaches of learning training. So yes, in short, cognitive theory about language acquisition uses learning strategies for the learner to be able to process the ideas, the information they have been gathered. So like for example, in the classroom, the strategies we're using is we're going to provide review, we're going to provide class vocabulary bags, we're going to provide a learning materials for us, of course, for the learners to be able to acquire the information easily. And yes, that's it. So yes, the Q&A has ended, and today to sum up everything, again, cognitive theory based on the language acquisition view, it is once again an acquisition as a conscious and reason thinking process that involving the deliberate use of learning strategies, the strategies that will lead us to transfer information into memory. This view also leads to a classroom focus on using the learning strategies that have been observed in successful language learners, and to a view of the learners as an information processor. And I think that's all. Thank you. Bye again. Don't forget to hit the notification bell below and like and subscribe my YouTube channel. It's me, your girl, Jessa Mae. Bye.
Hi, hello everyone. I am Sharmine Celades of BSED English II-2. For today's video, we are going to talk about the cognitive learning theory, the 4 stages of the cognitive development, and the examples of the cognitive learning in a classroom setting. So without further ado, let us start our discussion. What is cognitive theory? Cognitive theory asserts that the way people behave is the product of the information they gathered externally and the way they interpret this information internally. It was first proposed by Swiss psychologist Jean Piaget in the 1930s. He believed that language learning is closely linked to the maturation and development of the human brain. He stated that exposure to the world allows a child's mind to develop, in turn allowing language to develop. So all in all, cognitive theory describes our cognitive learning, the way how we acquire the information and how we interpret and develop this information. The main principle of cognitive theory is that children are born with limited cognitive ability that must be enhanced and developed over time. As the baby grows into a toddler, then a child, then a teenager, their cognitive ability also increases due to their life experiences. Cognitive theorists believe that with the development of cognitive ability comes the development of language. In 1993, Piaget introduced the 4 stages of cognitive development, and these are sensory motor stage, pre-operational stage, concrete operational stage, and the formal operational stage. The first stage of the cognitive development is the sensory motor stage. At this stage, children will learn predominantly through sensory experiences and manipulating objects. Also, during this stage, children's language is very egocentric and they communicate for themselves. The second stage is the pre-operational stage, in which children begin to develop symbolic thought and can create an internal representation of the world via language and mental imagery. This means they are able to talk about things beyond the here and now, such as the past, the future, and other feelings. The next stage of the cognitive development is the concrete operational stage. With this stage, children began to think more logically about concrete events and solve problems. However, the thing is, thinking is very literal. According to Piaget, children's language development at this stage highlights a change in thinking from illogical to logical and egocentric to social. The final stage of cognitive development, which is the formal operational stage, involves logical thought at the beginning of the ability to understand more abstract and theoretical concepts. Piaget stated that no stage can be missed out during cognitive development. However, the rate at which children develop may vary, and some individuals may never reach the final stage. Cognitive learning is a teaching approach that encourages students to be active and engaged in the learning process. Examples of cognitive learning in the classroom setting: encouraging students to figure out answers for themselves rather than telling them. Encouraging discussions in the classroom. Utilizing instructional scaffolding techniques. Helping students identify patterns in learning, and many more.
Hello everyone, this is Glace Gromontil, and now I will be giving you a brief explanation about language and cognitive theory. So the question is, what is the relationship between language and cognitive? So language is a means of utilizing the cognitive abilities of pattern identification and transformation in order to advance not only a means of communicating thoughts or ideas. Humans can use their skills and abilities to build new concepts on the foundation of old ones, allowing for a cognitive shift as opposed to a shift toward a manipulative scope. Language serves as a vehicle for facilitating a shared understanding of differing viewpoints and ideas. So now I'll be giving you some or few trivias about cognitive theory. So here it is. So the first one, the cognitive theory of language acquisition was first proposed by the Swiss psychologist Jean Piaget in the 1930s. Second, cognitive theory is based on the idea that children are born with limited cognitive ability upon which all new knowledge can be built. So knowledge can be developed via building blocks of knowledge named schemas. The third one, Piaget broke this developmental process down into 4 stages. So the sensory motor stages, the pre-operational stage, the concrete operational stage, and the formal operational stage.
We're done with the trivia, and now this video that you are going to watch will give you further understanding about cognitive theory on language acquisition.
There are some basic theories advanced to describe how language is acquired, learned, and taught. The behaviorist theory, mentalist theory or innatism, rationalist theory, otherwise called cognitive theory, and interactionism are some of these theories. In this session, let's talk about the cognitive theory, or also known as the rationalist theory of language acquisition. The cognitive theory. The Swiss psychologist Jean Piaget placed the acquisition of language within the context of a child's mental or cognitive development. He argued that a child has to understand a concept before he or she can acquire the particular language form which expresses that concept. In relation to language acquisition, a good example of this is seriation. There will be a point in a child's intellectual development when he or she can compare objects with respect to size. This means that if you gave the child a number of sticks, he or she could arrange them in order of size. Piaget suggested that a child who had not yet reached this stage would not be able to learn and use comparative adjectives like bigger or smaller. Object permanence is another phenomenon often cited in relation to the cognitive theory. During the first year of life, children seem unaware of the existence of objects they cannot see. An object which moves out of sight ceases to exist. By the time they reach the age of 18 months, children have realized that objects have an existence independently of their perception. The cognitive theory draws attention to the large increase in children's vocabulary at around this age, suggesting a link between object permanence and the learning of labels for objects. In his cognitive development theory, there are 4 stages of development. Namely, the sensoromotor stage from birth through ages 18 to 24 months, the preoperational stage from toddlerhood 18 to 24 months through early childhood at age 7, the concrete operational stage from ages 7 to 11, and the formal operational stage from adolescence through adulthood. Limitations of the cognitive theory. During the first year to 18 months, connections of the type explained above are possible to trace, but, as a child continues to develop, so it becomes harder to find clear links between language and intellect. Some studies have focused on children who have learned to speak fluently despite abnormal mental development. Syntax in particular does not appear to rely on general intellectual growth. The cognitive theory of language acquisition.
A psychological approach to comprehending how the brain functions is cognitive theory. Whether this is the first language or the second language, cognitive theory can be used to better understand how people learn languages. So the foundation of cognitive theory is the premise that before using words to describe a concept, people must first grasp it. So it contends that young people or adults must grow cognitively and create their own personal worldview in order to comprehend new ideas. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you learned something.
Hello everyone, my name is Adym, and I will be talking about connectivism whilst doing my makeup. And the look I am going to be making is under the theme Alien Superstar, if you know what I mean. Okay, so connectivism. What is connectivism? Connectivism is a theoretical framework for understanding learning in a digital age. Well, you know how things go with our mode of learning nowadays. And if you don't, where have you been this past year? And connectivism emphasizes how internet technologies such as web browsers, search engines, wikis, online discussion forums, and social networks contributed to new avenues of learning. Talking and doing something at the same time is not an easy task. And the view that learning, defined as actionable knowledge, can reside outside of ourselves or within an organization or a database. It is focused on connecting specialized information sets, and the connection that enables us to learn more are more important than our current state of knowing. Connectivism sees knowledge as a network and learning as a process of pattern recognition. The phrase "a learning theory for the digital age" indicates the emphasis that connectivism gives to technology's effect on how people live, communicate, and learn. So, mainly, connectivism talks about how technology is very beneficial to learning. And by using technology, our mode of learning is becoming easier. Oh my god, my mouth has glue on it. I am so ugly. This is the face of a sickly woman. Okay, connectivism is an integration of principles related to chaos, network, complexity, and self-organization theories. At its core, connectivism is a form of experimental learning which prioritizes a set of formed by actions and experience over the idea that knowledge is propositional. Now it's time to move this to the other side. Success. Now I'm feeling very graphic, so let's add some graphic eyeliner. Now, connectivism has several principles, 8 in total, and the first is learning and knowledge rests in diversity of options. And in connection with that, we can't just rely on one source. That's why we don't just use Wikipedia for our sources. But we can use the resources indicated in Wikipedia, and those resources can go beyond what is indicated in that website. Because, again, learning and knowledge rests in diversity of options. Second, learning is a process of connecting specialized nodes or information resources. Call back to Wikipedia that by connecting the different resources that we used, we can use them as a puzzle, as a jigsaw, and connect the dots and make a cohesive source. And the third is learning may reside in non-human appliances. And just to call back to connectivism being related to technology, we don't need to use outdated books or outdated sources. We can always check the internet and other technological tools for references for learning. Yeah. Copy that shape. I'll have to pause this. And the fourth, learning is more critical than knowing. That's very philosophical. It's more critical than knowing. Yes. Actually, yes. Because I'm sure you may know things, but that doesn't mean that you know the concept deeply. Knowing is simply gaining the information point blank without any depth to it. Learning has different implications to which knowing does not have. Yeah. And now I'm going to put on some crystals to satisfy my alien superstar look. Fifth principle is maintaining and nurturing connections is needed to facilitate continuous learning. Yes, because learning is not just a single lesson, a single process. It's continuous. We learn a new thing every day. When the interaction time between the actors of a learning environment is not enough, the learning networks cannot be consolidated. Exactly. If there is not much attention given to how the students are helped, what's the guarantee that they will learn something, right? So the sixth principle is perceiving connections between fields, ideas, and concepts is a core skill. Interconnectivity, connectivism, meaning there are connections between other fields, other ideas, and concepts. And that is a core skill that we need to follow in this concept. No, not a concept, but a framework, the framework of connectivism. And the seventh is currency. Accurate, up-to-date knowledge is the intent of learning activities. What I said earlier, we don't need to use outdated books, outdated resources for our sources of information, because we can use the internet with up-to-date information. And last principle is decision making is itself a learning process. Choosing what to learn and the meaning of incoming information is seen through the lens of a shifting reality. While there is a right answer now, it may be wrong tomorrow due to alterations in the information climate affecting the decision. Correct. Knowledge is not a constant thing. Things are always changing. We can't just anchor ourselves to one source of truth. Things are updated almost every day, thanks to science, innovation, and discovery. And with that in mind, connectivism is affected by that as well. And those are the principles of connectivism. And that is the end of my part. I will finish this look. And this is the final look. Now to put on something comfortable. So that is it for my makeup tutorial and about connectivism. I hope you learned something, and now it is on to the next reporter. Once again, this is Adym from BSED English II-2, and that is connectivism with makeup on the side. Alien Superstar, out.
Okay, good morning, class.
Good morning, ma'am.
Okay, so are you all ready for our discussion today?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, to start with, our discussion is about the history of connectivism learning theory. So, connectivism was first introduced in 2005 by the two theorists. So the two theorists here that we are referring to is George Simons and Stephen Jones. So who is George Simons? George Simons is a Canadian expatriate professor of psychology at the University of Texas at Arlington and professor and director of the Center for Change and Complexity in the Learning at the University of South Australia. That's the story of George Simons. And Stephen Jones is a Canadian philosopher and commentator in the fields of online learning and new media. So, he explored and promoted the educational use of computer and the online technologies since 1995. So the two theorists that introduced the connectivism was George Simons and Stephen Jones. So the article of Simons' Connectivism, Learning as a Network Creation, was published and being discovered in 2004. Whereas the article of Jones, an introduction to connective knowledge, was published in the following year. The publication addressed the important role of technology plays in the learning process, and how the digital age has increased the speed at which students have access to information. So yes, with the help of their discovery about the connectivism, we now are aware about how important that technology when it comes to learning process. Since then, both Simons and Downes have continued to write and speak about the subject. However, each of them has slightly a different viewpoints. So, while Simons tends to focus about the social aspects of connectivism, that is where Simons focus, and the focus of Downes is about non-human appliances rather, and machine-based learning. So the example of machine-based learning is the algorithm and image recognition. So that is about their focuses in the connectivism theory. So what are the nodes and links in connectivism? So the other term of nodes is the intersection or their connectedness. So according to connectivism, learning is more than our own internal construction of knowledge. So yes, we all agree this statement. So the connectivism theory is more higher than our own knowledge because of the technology that is very high-tech today. Rather, what we can reach in our external networks is also considered to be learning. So from this theory, two terms, nodes and links, have been commonly used to describe how we gain and connect information in a network, how we gather data, how we gather information. So in connectivism, students are seen as nodes in a network. A node refers to any object that can be connected to another object. And the good example that connect about this is the book, web page, person, and etc. Because those examples is the instrument on how a students can connect to gather information. Connectivism is based in the theory that we learn when we make connections. Yes, when we make connections, we learn between various nodes of information, and we continue to make and maintain connection from knowledge. So the very importance about connectivism is about the learning process. So with the help of George Simons and Stephen Downes, we are now aware of the history of connectivism learning theory. Their what we call that one? They are introducing the important part of the connectivism theory. So for now, that would be all. Is there any question?
No.
Okay. So I think for tomorrow we're going to have a short quiz about that one. It's just a very short quiz about this topic. I know you are all aware. So that's all, and thank you.